Okay, hello, Mr. Mohammed, are you the educators?
Yes. Do you want the others name?
Yes.
The chair will be Madiha.
Sorry, yeah.
There will be three judges. First one is Madiha. Okay. Hello.
Sorry, can you repeat the name?
The first one will be Madiha,
Yeah, okay.
and then me, Amma,
Sorry?
and then Amma,
Okay.
and the last one will be Najiha.
Okay, thank you.
Is my sound not clear or what? I'm scared my line is bad.
No, your line is okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so it's all the government side is here.
Yes.
Okay. How about opposition side?
Yes, we are here.
May I ask to all the debaters to turn on your camera during the debate session?
I'm really sorry. I'm currently having technical issue with my camera and I cannot turn on my camera. I hope it's okay.
Okay, sure. Okay, it is okay. So we can start now. Good morning, everyone. So before we start the debates, I would like to ask all the debaters to state your name and your position in the chat box, starting from the government side. Okay, then the opposition side. Okay, thank you for the debaters. All right, the House will come to order. I am pleased to welcome you all to this fourth round of special edition of the Pro-Canselor's Cup Debate Championship 2025. University Science. Allow me to reiterate that today's motion is this House will cut subsidies of schools high rates of bullying incidents. I am Muhammad Haziq and I will be the speaker and the timekeeper for this group. Now, I will state the rule and order for this championship. Each debater will have 7 minutes to deliver her or her speech. The bell will ring once to indicate the first minute has ended and points of information may be given. The bell will ring once after the 6-minute mark and will ring twice at the end of the 7-minute speech. I would like to remind the members of the floor they may only raise point of information in the constructive speech and only after first minute and before the last minute of speech. You may turn on your mic to state your request for POIs. Also, please make sure that your internet connection is stable and your voice is audible. Are there any inquiries before we start? Okay, I assume there is no question. Okay, now let me introduce our member for today's. We have for the government side, Ms. Robiatun as Prime Minister, Ms. Fisher as Deputy Prime Minister, and lastly, Ms. Safia for Government Week. For opposition side, we have Mr. Ali as Leader of Opposition, Ms. Madhya as Deputy Leader of Opposition, and Mr. Yasir as Opposition Whip. Joining us today is also our educators, is Mr. Amar, Ms. Madhya, and also Ms. Najia. Okay, with that, I call upon the Prime Minister, Ms. Robiatun, to deliver her speech. Here.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and very good morning to the honorable educators, respected members. of the opposition bench and attentive mind as this whole. As the first speaker, as the Prime Minister, it is my role today to open this debate by presenting the framework, laying out clear definitions, explaining the rationale behind our motion, and delivering the government first substantial argument. My deputy will then follow up with more supporting points and responses to the opposition. Let's begin with a few essential definitions. According to Oxford Language, subsidy means it's a sum up of money granted by the government or a public body to assist an industry or business so that the price of a commodity or service may remain low or competitive. But in this debate, subsidies refers to the government funds allocated to schools to help run operations such as staffing, facilities, student programs, and welfare. To continue to bullying is unwanted or aggressive behavior among school-age children that involve a real or perceived power imbalance. The behavior is repeated or has the potential to be repeated over time. Therefore, a school with high bullying rates here means it refers to one with consistent and verified patterns of bullying incidents, which no isolated or one-off cases, but those with a recurring and documented problem. Cutting subsidies here means partially reducing financial support to enforce accountability. So we are not advocating for total defunding. We are saying if a school repeatedly fails to protect students, it should not receive full unconditional support from taxpayer. All right, members of the whole, why is this motion important? It is because many schools nowadays are failing their students, allowing bullying to continue while facing no real consequences. Whether the school falls under the administration model, where the Office of Education handle cases externally, or the school model, where internal teachers manage it themselves, the reality remains students are still being harassed, traumatized, and left unprotected. And yet, these same schools continue to receive 100% of their government subsidies. Let's be clear. Public funding is not a blank check. If school cannot keep students safe, they should not even be fully funded. All right. I'll continue with my first argument. High bullying rates means unsafe schools. The number speaks volumes. As stated in UNICEF 2019 reports that 1 in 3 students worldwide have experienced bullying. This isn't just a discipline issue. This is systematic failure in student safety, and that's a problem we can no longer ignore. Members of the whole, every school has a legal and moral responsibility to provide a safe environment. When bullying becomes normalized, or worse, when it's covered up, the school is no longer fulfilling the basic duty. And yet, the school continue to be fully funded by the government, as though nothing is wrong with that. That's why we say if a school cannot guarantee safety, it shouldn't even be fully funding. If a school has repeated, verified patterns of bullying, the government should reduce part of its subsidy, not to destroy the school, but to push it toward action. This approach follows global policy best practice. As the OECD explains, governments use subsidy reform to push underperforming sectors toward improvement. Schools are not exception. Members of the whole, schools respond faster to funding cuts than they do to anonymous complaints. All right, let's see. When money is on the line, principals start to listen. Teachers get trained to respond to bullying, and maybe proper reporting systems will be put in place. An anti-bullying program will be enforced. This is the change that we want. If the high bullying rates is high, if the high bullying rates mean safe schools, I'm sorry, not yet, which we can cut subsidies, and the result is school will reform or lose support, and it will be safer for students since the school will get pressure. So by making funding conditional on action, we create a powerful incentive for schools to finally put student welfare first. So here I'll ask the opposition, if not money, then what else will make schools take bullying seriously? If you oppose funding cuts, what real consequences do you propose for school that repeatedly fail to protect these children? Because we've tried poster, we've tried speeches, clearly that's not enough. So I ask again, why reward failure with a full funding? Alright, to conclude, members of the Hall, we have defined the motion using incredible. We have defined the motion, and we also shown that many schools are failing their duty to protect students. We also have proven that cutting subsidies is logical, and therefore this motion is not about punishing schools. It's about prioritizing student safety and making sure public funds go where they actually help. And with this, the government is proud to propose. Thank you.
Thank you to the Ms. Robianton as Prime Minister for the speech. The speaker spoke for 6 minutes and 50 seconds. Now, I would like to call upon Mr. Ali as Leader of Opposition to deliver his speech. The floor is yours. Here.
Testing. Okay, I will start my speech. Ladies and gentlemen, school is a place for education where every student has a right to study in peace and harmony. But school is nowadays is also a place for all kids of different backgrounds, the good and the bad. And now bully has always been a huge problem since day one. It's a nightmare for the students and also a headache for the teachers and the parents. We agree with the government on this part. For so long, every party is working on to address this issue with so many ways have been tried, such as calling the cops for giving speeches and anti-bully campaigns. We as the opposition, in opposing this motion, we are giving you a solution so that this situation is supposed to be blamed solely on the perpetrator, on the bully themselves. We want to cater the real root of the problem by shifting the accountability heavily on the bullies themselves, while it could also give some impact on their surroundings, but heavily towards the perpetrator and their guardians, with the objective of to mitigate bully cases, if not altogether, but at least to a near 0% while protecting. Well, the main reason is to protect and give the peace of mind to the victims, to the other students. This mechanism that the government suggests by taking out the funding of the schools by cutting the subsidies will not work, and we will explain why in a short while. But before that, we are still unsure. What do they mean by high rate in school bullies? How did they get that? Where does it come from? So we will suggest. So we will think that in this case, the high rates will come from complaints, not just from schools, because if it comes from schools and complying with the mechanism that the government suggests, this will help the school. This will make the school to not report the problem, because they are going to share the damage themselves, and also the other students, not giving the bully the real punishment. So in my speech, we will prove how this is not solving, but rather making things worse. They said that it will hurt the school financially. It will make them respond, but respond how? They can give many response, and there's a huge loophole in here, because if the reports come from school themselves, then by that logic, the schools doesn't have to give the reports lah, because but if giving reports of bully cases, that means that they will not have the money for the other students and for their expenses themselves. So the best way to not have a high bully case is not to report in the first place. So enough of that. Our argument is that this approach means you are putting pressure to where it will help the bullies themselves. Instead, this means that it is a shared punishment with heavily towards the school. So instead, we should give our suggestion is there's a few ways to handle this problem, which is take out the subsidy from the parents, because the parents are enjoying the subsidy of sending their children to school without having a care of what happens. So by hitting their pockets instead, it will also make them think and make them think and handle their child also. But another alternative is that, and we want to emphasize on this one, send the bullies to the juvie for a short period of time. Let's say maybe like 6 months for them to undergo the real punishment. So why is this better? Why is this good? Because the damage will be put solely heavily on the bully themselves. Schools have nothing to lose other than maybe they will claim that this will tarnish the student the school reputation, because of they already have the high rates of bully. Then the school will be labeled as, oh, this is the place where the students come from, the juvie students come from this school. So I will not. So this school is bad. So no, the school already have lost their reputation. Now we are solving the students, the other victims' problem, so that they can learn in harmony. So why is this true? Before that, so POI.
My question is, why should we cut the parent subsidies instead of the school, if it's the school is what we're talking right now, if the school is actually responsible for this bullying case?
So interestingly, by putting the blame on the parents, the parents will also take notice of their child, because the child is under the care of the parents from day one. So the parents is who are supposed to be responsible for their kids, and the parents nowadays doesn't care what happens to their children in schools. So why is this true from our perspective is that because we stop the bleeding by putting pressure on the wound and not cutting the limbs like you are doing with the schools. If the schools have to share punishment, you are also punishing the other students instead. Like you are giving the idea for the bullies to say, so if I'm going down, you are all going down with me. By cutting the fundings, you are also cutting the other students' rights to enjoy a better education for themselves. Schools don't have the power to take harsh actions towards these bullies. So by sending these bullies to juvie, this will be a better solution, because the juvies have the environment, facilities, have the better have power to do anything with these juvie students. Not only giving punishment, but also giving the bullies to have a chance to learn as well. So why this is important? This puts fear on the bully and as the real party in punishment that deserve it. So with that, we are proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you to the Mr. Ali for as leader of opposition for the speech. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 10 seconds. Now I would like to call upon Ms. Fisher as Deputy Prime of Minister to deliver her speech. We shall now hear the speech from the Ms. Fisher. Here.
Okay, Assalamualaikum for our honorable judge and our fellow opposition opponents. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as the second speaker for the government, my role here today is to extend our case by providing new arguments and also to show you why cutting subsidies is also a way to enforce safety nets for our students. Okay, so I hear from our lead opposition. He said that he asked questions. Where are we getting these high rates? Obviously, we're getting these high rates from reported cases, from complaints. We are not going to receive this. We are not going to see complaints or anything from schools itself, because obviously you already know some of the schools are going to downplay the cases to protect their publicity, because they care about the publicity of their own school. Okay, so however, you mentioned about we should be cutting parent subsidy. Okay, are we attacking parent subsidy if the school itself is responsible to cope these bullying cases, if the school itself has its own anti-bullying policy? Because many cases where the parents don't really have any knowledge between this bullying cases, because of I can take an example of the Zara Khairina, because she is in a boarding school. So obviously there's like tiny or limited access. So basically the parents has tiny or limited access to know what's going on in the boarding school. And obviously, this shows that like everyone says that school is children's, or school is students' parents, is students' parents. Okay, so with this, I'm asking, why are we focusing on the parents if the motion for today is we are talking about schools that have high rates of bullying incidents? Okay. I will proceed with my two new arguments. First is my accountability creates responsibility. Okay. So as we can see, school is not just a center of education. School is also a guardianship to protect, to ensure safetyness for the student, not just to providing an education, providing institution for them to study, but to ensure that they are safe to be there too. Okay, to be a place that is safe for students. So with this cutting subsidies, it is not fully, but it is partially, or it is there's cutting subsidies. There's like partially, because cutting fully subsidies is obviously not, I suppose, obviously harmful for students. But we are going to do it just in a way of partially, or maybe redirect to the bullying victims. But that's on another case. That's what I will describe it in another minute. So as my argument, accountability creates responsibility, is because if we are giving them financial pressure, which obviously make them think that they need to take an incentive, they need to take like incentive to protect, to reinforce their anti-bullying policy. Because school often ignore bullying cases to protect their image. Like I already said, they downplay bullying cases because they fear bad publicity. And with this, we can already take about the many cases, like the Zara Karina cases again. I can take, why are they downplaying? At first, it was they downplayed the cases before it go worldwide, before it go nationwide. I mean, okay. So with financial pressure, with cutting their subsidies, it will force them to implement proper anti-bullying policy, which is it will prevent them. No, it will make them to create more alternative ways or anything or any ways to cope that bullying, to get more to not make it more worse. Okay, so proceed to my second argument, which is preventing long-term harm. Why do I say this? Because this case are obviously linked to school bullying, and cutting subsidies sends a clear national message, which is that we value children's safety above everything. We value children's safety above protecting schools' image. Okay, so in many cases, in Malaysia, there are many cases where bullying victims hospitalized because because the school itself looked away from actually solving the problem, actually solving the bullying problem. So by cutting subsidies, like I said again, we force schools to prioritize students' mental well-being, so they don't produce traumatized adults now. So because the after effect of being bullied is obviously getting you in a long-term it's a long-term trauma. It's not just a temporary. So with this, it shows that we care more about their mental well-being, instead of just, oh, okay, I'm just gonna give you subsidies and then you're just gonna go and provide everything learning for the students. No, we are going to show them that we actually care about their mental well-being. So if the school itself already failed with that, if the school itself already failed with our trust, that we trust them to ensure the safetiness of our student, why should we give them the subsidies? Why should we actually give them the subsidies? Because they failed our trust because of their systemic failure. Okay, so like I said, schools are second parents for students. They want to feel safe at the place that they are. So with this financial problem, obviously it's going to enforce the safetiness. Obviously it's going to force the school to create more initiative ways to cope that bullying cases. With this, I agree that this house would cut subsidy of schools that have high rates of bullying incidents. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to the Deputy Prime of Minister. Thank you to the Deputy Prime of Minister for the speech. The speaker spoke for 6 minutes and 53 seconds. Now, I would like to Ms. Mardia, Deputy Leader of Opposition, to deliver her speech. The floor is yours. Here.
Hello, am I audible? Testing. Right.
Yes.
Okay. I will start my speech in. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we can see that for government side, they believe that by partially cut the subsidies can cater more, can give more benefits and cater more bully cases that happening in that school, right? But from our side, we believe it's not true, because as our stance before, we want to cater the real root cause of the problem by shifting the accountability heavy towards the perpetrator and the guardian itself. Because yes, we know that the school is a second parent for the children. But we already see that the school, however, failed to shape this student and letting this case bully uprising in their school. So, but we need to look at the other factors that lead to this behavior of the students, which is the parents is the first education to the child. So the parents can also be one of the factor that leads to this kind of behavior to these children. So we want to cater that we want to cater from that way. Also, we just don't want to put the blame to the school itself, but we need to look at other perspective, right? So moving on, we believe that by not letting this subsidy cut it to these schools, because it's not to solve the real problem, because the real problem here is the attitude of the students, which is the bully in schools make the schools get that title, which is the high apa tadi they have a high risk as high rate bully schools incident, so that we can say that it is the students problem, right? So and why this is true, because the real because it is a student, because when the students make these bully cases, then the school have to report, and that's why this school have that high rate bully title, and by that and why
Your
it's
eyes?
important, no thank you, and this makes, and why this is important, because if we cater the real problem that's happening in schools, and it can give more benefits to the students first, and then the school also. Firstly, to the students, if we cater them in other alternative, which is like the LO already said, by sending them to the juvenile, can give more better approaches to solving this issue, then it is more better. That's for the aspect of the bully. On the other side, for the students, the victim itself, their mental health, it can be protected, because when the bully is gone, the then the victim can feel more safe to attend the school. Like they don't need to avoid that school just because there is a bully that make them horrible at school. So on the other side also, we need to see at the students that are not involved with any of these cases, because right now if we cut these subsidies partially, yes, it's not heavily impacted, but it can also gives a little impact to this student that are not involved, because we should not and imagine that if this not involved students is like a B40 students, like, and the school don't have enough funding to help them, to give bantuan in terms of school fees, and also the academic activities, then they and pity for them lah. So this this is why important we don't this is why important we should not cut the subsidies at school. And for the school itself, they can improve their title, like we said already, as we know, like this school have a bad title because of high rates bully. But if this school act to send these students to the juvenile instead, then they can uplift their title, like the schools know to cater the root cause of problem by settle this school bullies instead of just letting them at school, right? So this can make the school's title can uplift itself, and why our side is better because when we check when we apply this mechanism instead of just cut subsidies to school to cater this problem, then our side is better because we provide more efficient solution, such as we cater this school bullies to send the juvenile, and let's not forget we also acknowledge we look at the parents we look at the parents also. If is it the parents the real problem to this behavior of the students? We look at that angle also, and it also protects the victim, as I already said, because it makes the world better for the victims, and this is good, um, and also it gives more benefit to the school, and hence this create more better work by not letting these school bullies in school, but and also not just cut subsidies to scatter this problem, and with that we're proud to oppose.
Thank you to the Mr. Magdia as deputy leader of opposition for the speech. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 10 seconds. Now I would like to call upon Ms. Safia as government whip to deliver her speech. The floor is yours. Here, here.
I'll start speaking in 1, 2, 3. Alright, such I can see that from the opposition you were such empathy person, but we do prefer force. Alright, so because of that, good morning, Mr. Speaker, respected judges, member of the House, and fellow debaters. As the Minister of Defense, my role today is to clash with the opposition, show the weaknesses in their cases, and strengthen the stance of the government bench. I will do this by rebuting their points, reinforcing our main arguments, and proving why this motion must stand. Alright, so let's look at the first point of the opposition. They say that by government cutting the subsidies of school that have high rates of bullying incident, they say that this is not solving. It's like creating a new problem. And also they say that nowadays school oppress the child, like the school like because of this school has like high rates of bullying, their reputation already lost. But and also they mentioned about their perspective as parent. All right, let me explain about this. We are talking about cutting subsidies. So when it's about cutting subsidies, how can parents relate with the cutting subsidies? This is going to impact on the school side. So I give you example for a clear situation. All right. So when the government decide to cut the subsidies, how can the parent affect by it? To be logic, how can? I mean, it will affect on the school side. But okay, before that, let me make it clear how the flow of our stance become today. The first one, we have the high bullying school rates, and then they cause an unsafe environment, and then that school not fulfilling their duty, and because they're not fulfilling their duty, meaning that they don't deserve the subsidies from the government, so government decide to cut the subsidies. Then they want or not, the school need to improve, or they're forced to improve, or they will lose their support. And when they did this, what will happen? A better protection of student will happen. So okay, and also let me review this. That okay, On the second point of the opposition, they also saying that they believe on shifting the accountability, like they're speaking more to the parent aspect and for the even for the victim aspect. And also they say that they want to cater more on the parent perspective because they believe that the real problem is the attitude of the students. But yes, here I remind it again, we are in the verge of critical, which mean that the problem right now is the school. Probably the decision of government to cut the subsidies probably become the last step. Like the school, yes, I admit the school already lost their reputation because of what? Because the high school bullying. If it keep happening, you said that it is because of the students problem that you want to send them to juvenile to settle the real problem. All right, so okay, and then you also mentioned that yeah, the school already do like apa, I'm sorry for the school already give like apa the I'm sorry, the school already give like the cooks give speech, but this probably not even effective way. So the most effective way will be cutting their subsidies. This is like the last step. This is like of course to make sure that to force them to make sure that their school needs stop the bullying. Right. So the problem right now is the school. The school education system is the problem. So when the school is the problem, because of that, government take action. So you cannot relate it with the parents. Parent it will be on their consequences, and even it will affect them. It will affect them very little because the school it will affect the school. And also that the opposition mentioned that they care more about the student mental health. Such a great person, because you say that if you guys really care about the mental health student, and then if there is counselor there to support and guide students morality, why this case of bullying still uprising in their school? They become the high rates bullying school, so they are the problematic school. So the problem is the school. So right now, let me move on to our stance. So the first our stance is that no pressure, there's no pressure and there is no progress. And also we give example that if the schools keep receiving subsidy despite constant bullying, the school will remain passive because their funding is guaranteed. So they feel that they don't do anything wrong. They deserve to get that fund from the government. But after all, school is the safe place and they fail to make that. So they don't deserve the subsidies for sure. And then we also mentioned that we want to preventing the long-term harm. Why? Because we believe that victims also often suffer from trauma, anxiety, and poor academic performance, which is related to your guys' mental health issue. But some even drop out of school because of what? Before that, school is the problem. This is not involving the students. We are talking in the school perspective because the subsidies will affect the school. And then if the school fail to do it, then it will affect the students. And thus, we also mentioned about the accountability creates responsibilities. So let us look at the case today. The opposition clearly want to protect the school by doing a force, even if they fail. The governments want to protect students who are the real victim. So I can say that if common sense were used, then the opposition would be a barefoot. So, ladies and gentlemen, so at the end of this debate, I stand firm that cutting subsidies is not a punishment. It is a protection, it is an accountability, and it is a very safe. We will make school the safe place for all of us by agreeing that cutting subsidies is a very great way. So for all this reason, the government strongly support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you to the Ms. Safia as government whip for the speech. The speaker spoke for 6 minutes and 52 seconds. Now, I would like to call upon opposition whip, Mr. Yasser, to deliver his speech. The floor is yours. Here.
Can you guys hear?
Yes.
Okay. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't deny the rise of school bullying inside school bullying and the bullies in general, even inside the school or outside of school. We also couldn't deny it's been a huge problem and it's been a constant evergreen problem of school to mitigate this problem. Every party is trying hard to mitigate this issue. And many alternatives, many solutions has been trying to come up and bring up by many institutions around the world. Even the UN themselves acknowledge this issue. However, what the government has already given, based on the argument that they already given, even if that they want to solve the bully incident inside of school, cutting subsidies of school will resulting a much more or pretty much a harmful effect not only to the school but to the parents, to the students, and everyone in general. And so I would say because of this, the government is quite radical on this issue, and they are not trying to address the root cause of this issue, as my leader of opposition has already stated. And so let us look into two clashes that I saw based on the debate as a whole. The first clashes is that the accountability complex. Why school should be accountable when the perpetrators are at least being influenced or suggested out of, it's not by the school, because we know the school is a place for education and the school did not teach bullying. But where is the bullying came from? So we could take many factors that could be account into the bullying factors as a whole. Probably the guardians or the parents didn't give enough attention. Probably they are being suggested by their friends, and probably they just think it is for fun, and they just saw someone weak, and that is something that is a problem of themselves. But school, as even if they are the second parent for the students, but still they have the ultimate duty or the responsibility of teaching the student first, and then looking in this issue. If the issue become much more serious and much more outstanding, and would interrupted the whole process of learning themselves. And so this is when the school must take notice. And so because of they are being the second parent, the first parent, the guardians or their parents themselves, the students' parents, should take notice of the cases and begin taking actions firsthand before school should put the action onto them. Because why? Because the root cause of the bullying most of the time came from the house, being with the parents first, how the parents raised them. The reason why you want to cut the subsidies is because of the bully themselves. When you cut subsidies, most of the obligation that the school want to fulfill, such as improving the education streamline, improving the academic of the student, motivating the student to study more and do programs and activities on the welfare of the students. When you cut away those subsidies that were given by the schools, all of the process that the school want to do would come to a halt, or at least slow down. Or maybe if the school is at least it's in the need of money, they're soon gonna charge student for everything that the student deserve to do. It is the funding for school is the rights for the school, because it is the government duty to give the schools funding because of the education system that this even the government place. And so when you say that the school education or the education system is problematic, then you are saying you are problematic because the government, or at least the Ministry of Education, is the one who fix all of this issue. If you want to mitigate any problem, you would need funding, especially for school. There are plenty of programs that were being held right now at school, and those programs need funding to mitigate the current issue, and that is bullying. The school education problem that you specifically mentioned is not because that one school. You are blaming all of them. If you say that education system is the problem, then all of the education system inside this, and then the same education system of the school that is maybe probably have a lower bullying rate would be blamed also because of the failure of the Ministry of Education. So government is trying to shoot themselves. The next clashes that I want to point out is the ultimatum on the bullies. So the government did agree if they take the subsidy, it will hurt all sides. Okay, they are and now they're just taking one of the solution in order to mitigate the big issue, the big problem that have many factors that must be accounted into. Their suggestion on how to mitigate the problem will result in more harm than good. Unlike the government, we opposition did not attack the school firsthand. We think the school has become a perfect mediator between bullies report and ministry because they need to send the reports to ministry first. But the government just really ignore the root cause of the problem. Unlike school really did try to solve the problem first, and then if the problem persists, then it will become a report and they would send it to ministry. And then all of a sudden, government wanted to blame the school because it is not a safe place. And so my prime minister, okay, sorry, I didn't open any POIs. So I want to state that the parameter that were given by the government is that it is the complaint. Although anonymous reports may trigger the Office of Education, but the school are still the intermediating and couldn't just answer and blur the eyes of the administration. Also, our alternative is not deliberately picking random students to punish. Rather, a just judicial system after a thorough investigation that will be carried out. No innocent kid will be harmed. Unlike the government who are trying really hard to punish the school, they didn't want to address the bullies who did the harm, most of the harm themselves. And so for us, the opposition side is better because it looks at all of the angles, at all of the sides, and it does address the problem and it does solve the issues. And so we as the opposition side remain to oppose. Thank you very much.
Thank you to the Mr. Yasser as opposition lead for the speech. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 5 seconds. Now, both the government and opposition are given 1 minute to prepare their reply speech. The time is up. I call upon the speaker from the opposition side to deliver their reply speech. Here.
I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard of the discussion between the government and the opposition, where the government suggests that we take out the funds and we insist that this is not the problem, or this is not the problem that they are looking at in the real perspective So what happens during the debate is that the government doesn't really give a clear indication as how does the funding cuts would make the schools react. They only focus on how to pressure them and just leave the schools to think for themselves. They didn't even and they didn't give any suggestions to the school if after the funding cuts on what the school could do instead of giving them more suggesting giving them more power to as to cater the as to address the problem. Along the debate, the government didn't even give any BOP to us. Didn't didn't give a clear indication of what they are trying to achieve. So we have we have mentioned our objective, and we have delivered our case. We insist that the cut fundings will make things worse. During our speech from LO to the whip, by involving innocent parties to suffer, the funding cuts will result in damage to all parties involving the schools. So on top of that, it won't even give the bullies an indication, the idea that they are the problem. The bullies will still feel like I am the school problems, I am everyone's problem. So everyone will have to do something about me, not I'm going to do something about myself. Why should we win, dear judges? Because we have shown you that there are better alternatives to this solution. We have given a few, and we've emphasized focus on the real solution that will settle this problem, and not only on the short term but also on the long term. On top of the school already have a tarnished reputation, and the solutions is better in our part. So this is better giving under the microscope analysis, focusing really on the very small scale, the very start of the problem. So the government gives suggestions for short term and just leave it to the schools to look to solve with limited power, and also with the restrictions everywhere, with not able to giving the real punishment to the bully. They do not see that this mechanism will result in chain reaction, where parents also have to pay up for support if the problem persists, and this problem keeps going on, and the money will be taken away, and the money will have to come from somewhere else, and it has to come from the parents themselves. This is what the government doesn't see in that way. And for that, we urge you judges, so this motion should not be passed, because it will result in all parties having menanggung kerugian from now and until into the future. For this, we should win. Thank you.
Now, to conclude, let's welcome the speaker from the government side to give their reply speech. Here.
Okay. Okay, so I come up with a question first. No, I didn't come up with a question. Okay, so I will start now. So as we know, subsidy is not all right. Okay, subsidy is a privilege that has its own alignment with the school. That if you don't provide safety nets, or you don't provide the proper education for the student, we will take back the privilege that we gave you just now. Okay, so our first speaker. Me as the one who will do the wrapping speech. Okay, I would like to bring this debate back to the focus, and I would like to win our judges' heart, and also prove that why cutting subsidies is also one of the necessity that will not prevent, but reduce bullying cases in our school. Okay, so our first speaker mentioned about no for enforcement, no force, no progress, which means that if you can if there's no enforcement, which means if the school feels, if the school is now comfortable with high bullying cases, students will now not feel safe. So there will not be incentive ways to prevent this bullying cases to be coped. Okay, so I heard about juvenile cases. Okay, I heard about juvenile cases. Why not sending them back to the juvenile? Why not sending them to the juvenile? Okay, so why are we? Well, the first reason why we send students bully to juvenile is because they are mostly comfortable, or they are mostly comfortable in a culture where bullying cases is normalized in school. So the problem is the school. So why are we? The reason why we're cutting it is because the reason why we're cutting it is because um, to ensure that the school will do more better in their anti-bullying policy. We put our full trust in schools' responsibility to know what they are doing. So if they don't know what they are doing, if they have failed us, obviously we're gonna take that privilege back. Okay. Uh, as for our second speaker mentioned about accountability creates responsibility. Okay. Uh, it creates responsibility. Uh, if uh, if the school, okay, I get it that one bully, why all of the students are getting the same punishment. This is not a punishment. This is only like an act of school should take an accountability. It forces school to take the accountability for them to act, for them to have an incentive way, to have ways to prevent this, to reduce this from happening. Okay, so we giving the subsidies. It's it's their fault to not doing the responsibility they have given. Okay, and if this is not prevented, if this is not reduced, if school is not doing well in their job, if school is not doing well in their job, this will cause, like you said, this will cause high this will cause long term consequences. And also they have not responded with our second speaker question regarding parents know nothing about their child's well-being. So it is unfair for them. It's unfair for the parents to be subsidized or along the line. So with this, we stand by the fact that we should cut subsidies, but we should cut high school that has high cases. Yes, school that has high cases, high bullying cases. Thank you. Eh,
Thank you for the government side. There is all there is all for the rounds today. On behalf of the house, I thank the educators for their assistance. I congratulate all the debaters on their performance. Before we before we dismiss, please turn on your camera. We I want to take a formal picture. Give me your best one. Two. Okay, thank you for all the debaters and educators. You can dismiss. Good luck
Wait,
for
for educators, I think we should stay for all the participants can leave, but the educators should stay in this room to like discuss among ourselves.
okay.
Okay, you guys can go now. Bye
Okay,
bye.
debaters can
Safia, dear. Safia?
Kejap.
Safia?